interesting point that you raise about a number of these developed nations. You spoke about United States, you talked about European Union. There seems to be a waning support that is waning from the United Nations. And do you think in the future the very structure of the United Nations could look a lot more different than it currently does, by way of a number of countries that have emerged as global economies, particularly in the global south, particularly in Asia, being bigger stakeholders in the goals that the United Nations has to fulfill?
No, look, absolutely. I think that one of the defining sort of moments of our time now is the rise of the global south, as we say, recognizing that the world is very different from when these concepts of multilateralism were first defined and institutions put in place and stood up. For example, now the global south is accounting for the majority of economic growth in the world, and will account for something more than 80%, I think, in the coming decades of growth. So that locus of growth, that's one that has shifted. Of course, population centers also has shifted. So and sources of innovation, here in India we have I like to say, the greatest youth generation in history. No country has ever had more young minds to tap for solutions ever before than India right here, right now. So a lot of the drivers and the engines of the future we want have shifted, and institutions need to reflect that. There's a whole process underway right now, a major reform process underway, and not just the UN, many multilateral institutions. But we are celebrating the UN 80th anniversary, UN at 80. Yeah. At the same time, the Secretary General has put forth an ambitious reform program to understand how can we do better with less, how can we better reflect the world as it is now today. And I think what you've mentioned is very much a big part of that, reflecting the important leading role that the Global South now has, that maybe wasn't the case or wasn't as well reflected decades back when the UN and others were stood up.